Today marks the anniversary of one of the most poignant dates in Manchester United Football Club's history. The 6th of February 1958 is a date that every single Manchester United fan around the world knows everything about. Maybe they could know a little bit more. I don't think there's enough fans from the time have had their say on their thoughts and their feelings around such a date and what it means to the city of Manchester and what it meant to the city of Manchester. I'm lucky enough today to be joined by my grandfather, who was around and working at the time, actually working in Old Trafford at the time of the incident. He's going to give us a few words on his thoughts and his memories around Munich. The Busby Babes. It rolls off the tongue. It was revered as one of the greatest sides English football's ever seen. A youth team that came together, won everything at youth level, wins the English Championship and goes on to try and take on the world in Europe. Can you tell us how good that team really was?
Well, it was the best I ever seen. I think it was going to become the best, and the best maybe. Busby always looked at Real Madrid, obviously. Well, everybody did at the time with Stefano and 5-time European Cup winners, and I think we were going to be on a level, in my mind. I think we're an unbelievable squad.
So you don't think they peaked? 1956 was a good year, but you think there was still...
There was a lot to come, a very, very lot to come. The rules were terrible, really, where you couldn't have substitutes. Because you could imagine that squad that we're talking about, and them youth team players to come through. If 4 or 5 of them could have been sat on the bench, would have been unbelievable.
Let's talk about some of the players then. Some of the players that maybe some of the people watching might not really know. Roger Byrne. Tell me about Roger Byrne.
Brilliant. Well, captain of United, captain of England. When you think of the players that was in England then, with your Billy Wright and all them. Anyways, yeah, he was a brilliant player. Nice, quiet man, very fast as a footballer. Perfect fullback. Family man. Unbelievable that he should die that young. What can you say about him? Yeah, he was a brilliant player and a good man.
Tommy Taylor, one of the most prolific strikers, one of the best strike rates we've seen at Manchester United. Probably a lot of goals left to get in his career.
You wouldn't be talking about Bobby Charlton now and Rooney if he'd have carried on for another few years, because he was scoring for fun. All good lads. You know, we're talking about them playing. We know what they played like. As you say, unbelievable striker, Tommy Taylor. But there was all really decent lads as well, which Busby wouldn't have anything different. He brought them up from youths, and if there wasn't decent people, they wouldn't be there. So that is a big thing to say about them all, actually. Some run lads who came from the city, from Hume, and all these places like Albert Scanlon, Coleman, obviously from Salford. But they had to be decent lads, else they won't be playing for Manchester United. And they was all brilliant players.
For those who've not seen him, Duncan Edwards is referred to as the greatest, which isn't a small title. The greatest. It's not he was above average, is it? It's the greatest. Bobby Charlton says the only player that's made him feel inferior. Why was Duncan Edwards revered so much?
He could do everything. He could have played centre forward. Well, he could play anywhere. He was just an unbelievable player. If you say, oh, this guy's got to be on because he gets a grip of the game, he did that every match. He just got a grip of the game, and he told people off at his young age. He was an unbelievable player and a man, a good man.
If you had to pick his footballer characteristics, if you said like the passing range of Scholes, the drive and determination of Roy Keane, how would you piece together Duncan Edwards?
Everything about him. Because there's one thing that Busby said in a book. Bobby Charlton said in a boot, Murphy got hold of him and said, I've got a player here that can tackle, he can run, he can kick both feet, just the same. He can head a ball, he can pass any yard you want, and when I get a grip of him, he'll be a good player. And that was it. That's what Jimmy Murphy said to Bobby Charlton. So I think Bobby Charlton respected him a little bit. And you can't say more than that about a player if Bobby Charlton respected him.
Jimmy Murphy, training centre at Carrington. It's got a centre named after him, possibly. Not enough. How pivotal was Jimmy Murphy in the weeks and months prior to, but also in the aftermath of Munich?
Well, after the aftermath of Munich, he was unbelievable, and he just carried on as if it was Busby was there. But I think he was. If you ever say about a right-hand man, he was a right-hand man to Busby. He was a man. And you've got to remember, he was also manager of Wales. And when you think he could manage someone like John Charles, he must be a manager. We were very, very lucky, I think, at Old Trafford that he stayed and didn't just count his Welsh manager's job as his full-time job. We had a great manager there, as well as, well, two managers, if you like, as well as Busby. Magic man. Can't say much more about him, really.
So with 1957, Manchester United just missed out on doing the double, losing in the FA Cup final, win the championship, we're back in Europe. We look pretty good from what I can see in terms of the reports. What was it like at the time? What did it feel like at the time, playing all these European teams? Did it feel like this was the next stage of football?
We didn't seem to bother about any. We thought they'd win everything. That's the way it was. But there was always Real Madrid. Real Madrid was a brilliant side, an unbelievable side. They gave them a good game, like. But the players they had was unbelievable. So that's the only team, I think, that we thought could bother United at the time. And when you think that this was a young side, Manchester United, still had years to go, really. That just shows you how good they were, Manchester United. To be on a par with, we thought, with Real Madrid.
So the European Cup that year, obviously we lost to Real Madrid the previous season, the only team that potentially we could struggle against. We come up against Red Star Belgrade, beat them at home. We travel to Belgrade, where we get a 3-3 draw, which puts us through to the semi-final. Did you watch the match?
No.
Listen to the match.
But all we did was see a bit of highlights. No, I didn't see it. And at the time, obviously, it was pre-Munich. We didn't care. Where's the next round? That's it. So yeah, I'm not saying we didn't care all that much, but we got through.
So
and them days, it was very, very hard to start watching matches anyway. There was no way you could watch it.
So you heard the result on the radio?
Yeah. Well, it was in the papers the next day and all sorts, you know.
And that was that, just sweet, we're in the next round.
Yeah, and off we go.
So you went to work the next day? Normal day at work?
Normal day until in the afternoon sometime. I was in the toolmakers there on Ellesnore Road, which is right next to Warwick Road Station. Herbert Hunt's. I was an apprentice there. I was only been there 10 months or something. I was 15. And one of the centre lathe turners had a radio on his machine. And one of the lads came, I was in a fitting shop, and the lads came down and said, Bill or whatever his name was, said United's just crashed. So after a bit, I had to do this, whatever I had to do, and I went down to the toilets there and asked one of the guys there, I said, hey, what's going on here? What's a bit of a rumour down in the shop? Yeah, he said, United's crashed. I said, well, how bad is it? He said, well, he crashed on the runway, trying to take off. We don't know, we just don't know. Right, so went back, and we had to work till 5:30 that night. We went over, as I walked out to go home, all the lads were going through the station to go down Warwick Road, past the cricket ground, to the ground, like. And so I said, I'll go with them. And we get to United Bridge, and the police are there, and this one said, where you going, lads? We said, let's find out what's happening. And it was in pitch black, the whole ground. And he said, there's no one here, they've all gone now. You better go and find out at home. We don't know ourselves, but there is some dead. And that's all he told us. And then we didn't know until I got home then that there was a few dead.
How did that news start coming through? Was that radio? Was that
television, radio, yeah. On the news, I don't know, it must be 9 o'clock now. The ones that were dead there, and then they knew, like Roger Byrne, and I believe he was found in his seat with no mark on him. I think David Pegg did mention Tommy Taylor. So it was a blow. I went down to Ardwick because I lived in Cheltenham then, and to find my brother, and I couldn't find him. He'd just walked out, and we didn't find him till the weekend. Yeah, big blow, yeah. The whole town, I still think, you know, there's people there they call City fans and things like that. But, you know, I found a lot of City fans were very upset as well, especially the ones I knew. So it was a big blow.
What happened in the next coming days? Because we've seen the documentaries, we've seen the film depictions of what Jimmy Murphy set about to try and do in that couple of days, and obviously there was orders to return home. And
yeah, the first few days, no one was bothered really about football. They wasn't asking about football. They were just watching Munich and getting the news from Munich, because there was a lot of injured players, and when you say injured, you hope that they'll play again, especially Duncan Edwards, still alive. And I remember watching the telly, it was on the news, must be only a few days after it, and they had a shot, seeing Matt Busby in an oxygen tent them days. It was like a mosquito net, if you like, over them, the oxygen tent. And the camera went down the ward, and Duncan Edwards was down about 3 beds. And he got up and looked down to the camera and went back on his pillow. And one thing I'll never forget, because he died just after that. You know.
Was that a shock to everybody after seeing him sitting up and looking?
I don't know.
Okay?
I don't know really. I never spoke about it. But he definitely sat up and looked down towards the camera and went back on his pillow. Oh, it's all right, you know, that type of thing. All I heard afterwards, it was spoke about that it's a good job he died. He was a wreck. He was wrecked. His legs were wrecked and everything. So that's what I heard anyway. And he must have been. He was a big, strong lad. You know, to die with injuries, it must have been very bad. Of course, as the names come through, it was terrible, really.
Was there any communication from the club, or was it just newspapers really giving
No, newspapers really, no. You know, I can't imagine what it'd be like in a club. It must have been destroyed.
It obviously wasn't the huge organisation it was now. You was looking at maybe a football section with the manager and assistant manager, and then a handful of secretaries maybe.
Yeah, you Walter Crickmere and all them, you know, they died as well. Like. It must have been an empty place. When you think about all the top people really in their offices, if you like.
People who may have actually given a statement
was gone
on the plane.
Yeah, and he died. I did read a book, I don't know if it's an advert, but it was a very, very good book called The Day a Team Died by Frank Taylor. And I didn't read that for a long time after, but it was a very, very good book. And he told you all about that, what would have happened in that club. It was a big thing for Manchester in a way as well. The great goalkeeper Frank Swift of City died in it, you know. And I remember watching him as a kid, obviously. And he was a great goalkeeper before they got Trotman. But anyway, yeah, it was after the crash. It was a lot of people didn't think much about football, you know, and they got through to play Sheffield Wednesday, and I went to that match, and it was just.
Well, let's talk about that.
It wasn't a football match really.
I've got a reproduction of the programme here, and it just reads like a funeral service. There's
a obituary, yeah.
There's all the memorials on the back. There's a statement from the chairman, Mr. Hardman, on the front. There's farewells to and pen pictures about board members and players, and then perhaps the most poignant thing is
no names there, no team names. Yeah.
Can you talk to us about that game?
Didn't see much of it really. It was. I don't think I was on my own. I think it was near enough a waste of time being there because everybody was crying. So yeah, it was a bad bit of game to be at. In fact, my mother said, "You know, you should go in there tonight. You know, they won't be playing football. It will be." And they did. They played well. Like I don't remember most of them. There was a lad called Pearson, funny enough. Mark Pearson played for a while after. Remember Brennan being on the left winger, he was.
We won that game, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was a cup match, wasn't it?
Did people cheer as the goals went in, or was it just?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just the same that way. But got worse as it went, as they won. When you think about it, they played them, these kids, and it was the 5th round. So they had the 6th round semi-final and final to go, and they got there. That's what I'm saying about this was a youth team. And whatever you say, well, maybe because of the atmosphere, the other team won't be playing that well. Just after the game, just after the crash and that. But you can tell that they would. If you ever look at the final, you know, and the way Bolton played, and Nat Lofthouse pushed Greg in the goals, and he said afterwards it was a foul. He obviously didn't give it. They won't give it these days. He caught it under the post with his feet off the floor, and he went right into his chest and into the net. No, goal. And that's how, even Nat Lofthouse, I watched him a long time after on the telly. He said, "Oh yeah, it was a foul." He said, "But we wanted to win the FA Cup. They didn't care about Manchester United crashing." And which is fair enough. You know, the players, they might never get to, well, he wouldn't. He was getting on a bit, Nat Lofthouse. And they never get to Wembley again. So they want to win the FA Cup. And that's what they did. So what I'm trying to say really is these youths that came in, they must have been decent players to get to Wembley against teams that wanted to win the FA Cup. So, as I say about Manchester United, the lads that died would have had pressure of these players in 2 or 3 years. It ruined United for a long, long time, that. And by the way, as Busby had shown, he put players in from the youth team. Now he's got them, and he's got a youth team that can go and play, still play. He had to buy to get a team again. He had to buy, so he couldn't rely on these lads that he brought up like before. You know, by the time, I'm looking at a name there, Quicksaw. In '63, when Busby said, "Give me 10 years," or whatever it is, they won the FA Cup. He was playing for them, and he was playing for Sheffield Wednesday that night. Yeah, he bought a good few players. Well, he'd bought Law by then, David Hurd and all that, you know.
What do you think the legacy of the Munich air disaster is to Manchester United as a football club?
I think worldwide it brought a lot of notice to Manchester United. It'll never alter us, like, you know, we was there anyway. Made us a lot stronger with the arguments we've had, and the people doing the Dam Busters march on which so what, like, you know, but I think what it's brought to United is a worldwide interest, especially the Far East for some reason. They was there straight away after the crash. We used to hear about them anyway, you know. As you know, I go to a place a lot in Malta, very, very big. And I don't think it was because of the crash myself, but because it sounds like the fathers and the grandfathers was supporters. But I go to a place at Malta there, and you even watched the 2008 European Cup win in the bar there with the Malta Reds, and they are unbelievable. But no one ever talks about it, Munich, you know. It's just gone, but it'll always be in our minds forever. And what it done to the United and England, you know, England big, I think. We could have won the World Cup a long, long time ago, you know, before '66, like.
I hope that's give you an insight into what it was like for a Manchester United fan around the time of the disaster. A personal experience for one of the most standout dates in Manchester United's history. So thank you to my granddad for giving us that today.
Magic to talk about it.
And thank you for you guys for watching.